As of PHP 5, PHP is a full-fledged object-oriented programming language. If you want it to be, that is. I definitely prefer it of what we've been doing so far. But one step at a time though, right? We've finally made it to real programming. Now, when people talk about how bad PHP is, it's mostly from people that haven't explored the language itself. They saw a video or two about people ranting about the language and they haven't experienced it themselves, to be honest. There's also another group that doesn't like change, so when they get familiar with a programming language, they want to only code in that one particular language. So think about all the places that JavaScript has made its way into. JavaScript can be just as messy, and a lot of the times it is. It's not the language, it's the developer. But I would hope that if you made it this far with me, that you are a computer scientist at heart, where you want to explore any and all languages and not just be stuck with one particular one. So let's get into object-oriented PHP. It will help if you have experience with another object-oriented language. PHP syntax resembles Java, so if you have experience with Java, you'll feel right at home. If you have no experience with object-oriented programming, here's a quick introduction. Imagine that you're constructing a building. Usually the architect, you as a programmer, will develop a blueprint, a class, and from that blueprint, a building will be constructed, or the object, right? When you create a class, you're developing the schematics. When the program runs, it looks at those schematics, the class, and constructs, instantiates the object. From now on, just keep in your mind, architect equals programmer, blueprint slash schematics equals class, and building equals object. I'm not going to say the analogies anymore, just the programming terms from now on. So just keep that in mind. What we're doing with a program most of the time is mirroring real world things. The object that's constructed from a class doesn't have to be non-living. We can model living organisms too. So for example, a dog. A dog has properties or characteristics such as breed, height, length, fur color, whatever. We don't have to though model only characteristics of the dog. We can also model actions that the dog can perform as well, such as barking, walking, drooling, etc. Those are the things that the dog can do. So before we model our dog, let's take a look at the class structure. The class in object-oriented PHP starts off with the class keyword. You then give it a class name. So for example, class name, whatever you want, and then open and close curly braces. So all of your characteristics and actions, your properties and your methods will go inside here. So a class property or a class characteristic can be placed inside here with a modifier, which we're not going to discuss right now. We'll talk about that a little bit later, but we can give it a property name and we can just initialize it. It doesn't really matter what it is. We are going to look at PHP 7.4 syntax a little bit later, but the reason why it's underlined right now, it says add string as the property type, and you didn't know that PHP could do that, so that's a little preview for you for what's about to come. Another thing that we're going to discuss a little bit later is the object construct. For now, just know that in the construct, you're going to do something on instantiation, basically when the object is created. Another thing that the class can have is, like I said, those actions. A function inside a class is called a method, so we'll pretty much start off the same way. Again, we're not going to worry about these visibility modifiers right now, but we'll say public function, some method, and then we can have some kind of parameter declaration right there. And then inside the method body, we can have other things. So for example, we can have a local variable. A local variable lives inside a method. When it's outside of the method, it's called a class property. This has a lot to do with scope. A class property can be accessed from any method, but local variables can only be accessed from inside the method that declared them. Let's create another method. We'll say public function, another method. So inside this method, what we want to do is we're going to want to access the properties or other methods inside the object. To access the properties or other methods inside the object, you need to use this as the keyword. All it does, it says basically that you're going to access the property or the method of this object. If you were accessing the property or method of another object, you would instantiate that other object and then use that name to access it. So we can say echo this property name. And then, for example, if we wanted to call our method up here, then we could say this some method. And then since it's expecting a parameter, we could just say something like, hey. Now, of course, I'm going through this really fast, and the reason being this is just an introduction. We're going to be focusing on each individual thing through the next few tutorials. But to finish this one off, to instantiate this object, we have to use the new keyword. So we'll say object name is equal to new class name, because the class name, that's what we named it up here. We named this class name. So now this object name has the instantiated object class name inside there. And if we want to access the properties or methods inside that object, we use the object operator. So whereas we were accessing methods and properties inside the object itself by using this keyword, when it's outside, we use the object operator, we instantiated it, and then as you can see over here we have a few different options that we can use. So for example, another method. So if you haven't done this type of programming before, I suggest that you watch this video a few times, read about object-oriented programming elsewhere, and then continue on with the following tutorials. We'll be constructing our dog class over the next couple of tutorials.